I think most Star Wars fans can agree that despite being in so much of the promotional material for The Force Awakens, Captain Phasma was an extremely overhyped and underwhelming villain. We can all hope that she gets some much needed screen time in The Last Jedi, but in the meantime we've got the book Phasma by Delilah S. Dawson to dull us over until then. I had no real excitement for this book initially, but after the incredible Inferno Squad, I thought why not? The book essentially tells two different stories, one about Phasma's past and the other about a First Order soldier known as Captain Cardinal and his captive Vi Marauder. Cardinal and Vi's story is a very small scale, personal story that follows the mantra of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, whereas Phasma's origin is a very perilous action-adventure story. So the book starts with Captain Cardinal capturing the Resistance spy, Vi Marauder, who has information about Captain Phasma's past. Cardinal is a devoted and loyal First Order captain who runs the youth training scheme on the battlecruiser Absolution, and his cadets progress to the Finalizer, where they are then trained by Phasma. But the thing is, Cardinal hates Phasma. He believes that she has no loyalty to the First Order, and believes that she is eventually going to do something that will undermine it. He is desperate to get some dirt on Phasma, so he tortures and interrogates Vi in secret, who begins to tell him a story that she was told by a woman called Civ on Phasma's birth planet known as Parnassus. The book then goes back 12 years into the past, and we're on Parnassus, and we learn that Phasma is a very aggressive warrior for a tribal band of people called the Skya, who live on treacherous spires and caves above an ocean. Phasma takes over leadership of the Skya with her brother Keldo, and 2 years later a First Order ship crashes on the planet, to which Phasma sees as an opportunity to get off of Parnassus, as it suffered a catastrophic event in the past that has left it almost desolate. So, she makes a deal with a First Order survivor called Brendel Hux, the father of the Force Awakens General Hux, and betrays her people to go off on a perilous quest to find the downed ship to call the First Order. She takes the warriors loyal to her, Brendel, and 3 stormtroopers on a trek to the far side of Parnassus, a place where no one has ever been and returned. From here on, the story chops and changes between present time on the Absolution with Cardinal and Vi, and 10 years in the past on Parnassus with Phasma, Brendel and her band of loyal warriors. Now honestly, I felt the earlier stages of the book were quite boring, as it was very much about setting up Phasma's aggressive take-no-crap personality and Cardinal's generally kind-hearted nature. However, once I reached the part of the story where Phasma and her warriors are trekking through the desert of Parnassus, things began to really pick up and I did become really engrossed with it. The story is helped along brilliantly by some fun and interesting side characters that really add the needed humour and entertainment, something that is apparent but necessarily missing from Phasma and the First Order survivors. And I felt pretty much all of the characters were really well developed, but ironically not so much the titular character. Phasma was pretty much the person I expected her to be. Not necessarily her past as a tribal warrior, but the way she was represented as a person. The biggest problem for me was the inconsistency with her personality traits. She is represented as a generally dry, egotistical person, but she is relatively loyal to those who are loyal to her. But this seems to switch every now and then. Sometimes she's loyal, and sometimes she's a completely selfish monster, and her growth as a character was for me a little bit stifled by this inconsistency in the writing. Luckily, most of her followers, Civ, Car, Torbin and Gosta, are likeable and well written, and so is Brendel Hux. In terms of characters, the development of Captain Cardinal is probably the best thing about the book. We have a man that is initially 100% dedicated to the First Order, but as the story progresses we begin to see cracks forming in that loyalty, and I felt his story arc was definitely the best. However, the overall world building of Parnassus is where for me the book shines. The way Delilah S. Dawson creates this broken, desolate, volatile and dangerous world makes the characters seem more interesting than they actually are, and credit where it's due because Parnassus is a very, very well written planet and a great addition to Star Wars canon. Evidently, as you go through, the book is mainly about putting across the notion that Phasma is simply a survivor. A very intelligent, adaptable survivor who doesn't really have much loyalty to anyone apart from herself, and I do recommend giving it a read. It's a very welcome addition to the Star Wars story universe, and it was very entertaining. Definitely read it if you want to learn more about Phasma in preparation for The Last Jedi. So I'm going to give Phasma an 8.5 out of 10. Tell me, have you read Phasma, and if you have, what did you think of it? If you enjoyed the review, force push that like button, and as always, if you want to join the OP Star Wars family, perhaps consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, may the Force be with you.